Zannis, Mike Kadlick here, Patriots Postgame show. Chalk this one up in the moral victory category, Mike.
I hate
Um,
that though.
I know I hate it. Pat's. Everyone knew. You know, Mac Jones was never going to play this week, and who knows for how much longer he's going to be out. Pats tried to do a little weekend at Bernie's ruse, trucking him out there Friday. You knew it wasn't going to happen, so you knew this was a Brian Hoyer show. Packers were huge favorites. Patriots hung in there. Hoyer goes out. Everyone watched the game. Everyone who's here now watched the game. They know what happened. Brian Hoyer goes out with a head injury early, and it becomes the Bailey Zappe show. There's a lot of people out there, Mike, who why don't they just start Zappe instead of Hoyer? And I understand the mentality is Zappe is the unknown.
Right.
And it's a sexier thing. And Brian Hoyer, you know what he is, and you know the ceiling, and you don't feel confident that you're going to be able to do anything, but he can kind of, manage the situation, whereas the moment might be too big for Zappe. There was no time to find that out. Zappe got thrown right in there, acquitted himself fairly well, managed a couple of drives, made a couple of throws, kept the Patriots in the game. His overall stat line is nothing that's going to blow people away.
Nope.
10 of 15, 99 yards. The Patriots naturally were very, very, very conservative, and there's good reason why. There are times where he looked pretty shaky in the pocket on a couple of dropbacks, took a bad sack there late in the fourth, a very bad sack. That could have been
that was tough.
And I think that sack is what contributed to very conservative play calling in overtime when the Patriots had the ball at the 50-yard line and could have gone for the kill shot. I think should have tried because the risk was a little smaller there. If something bad happened, you could take a sack there. You could even turn the ball over there. You could throw a pick there, and you're not going to give the game away necessarily. But they stayed conservative, punted it back to Green Bay, and Rodgers finally pulled himself together, and that was it. So Patriots lose. Your initial impressions, what was your major takeaway in this game?
It was, I keep going back and forth on it, but it was like I didn't like them. It was almost like they were playing not to lose there towards the end, and that really irked me.
That was it too. Yeah.
They played them competitive for 60 minutes. Yeah, they had the ball at their own 2, and maybe they were right to just run it 3 times and try and force overtime, but I don't know, 3 straight runs, it's like you kind of have to give yourself a chance a little bit more, right? Like, and we mentioned it just now, or you mentioned it just now too, in overtime. They played way too conservatively at the end of the game. It was almost like they just were playing not to lose and not to win. And that kind of stinks because when you go out there and you have a rookie, a guy like Jack Jones, who made some outstanding plays out there. You have Jelani Tavai on defense, who I have been his worst critic over the last, 6 weeks now. He was awesome. Hand up, he was awesome today. And it's just so many guys stepped up. Bailey Zappe played really well. You just showed it on the bottom. He only threw for 99 yards, but he played consistent. And I thought it was Matt Patricia's best game as a play caller, but it got way too conservative at the end, and they didn't do enough to win.
And that's what it was. When the Patriots finally got it to 24, took that 24-17 lead, they went 3 and out their next 3 possessions. And again, in one of those, as we said, he took a bad sack in there. But the problem, and then in overtime, you get the ball at the 50-yard line. That's the one that killed me. And I tweeted this out, and naturally there's going to be some people who are like, oh, no, you're the play caller. They're like, I get it. You're not going to sit back there with Bailey Zappe, throw the ball 50 times. Nobody is saying to do that. Nobody who's going to be at all critical of the late game management is suggesting that. They have to be conservative because the more opportunities you give him a chance to make mistakes, the more likely he's going to make a mistake. So you got to minimize those. I get being conservative and really being selective with when you go for it. That from the 50-yard line there, I felt that was right out of the gate. I felt like you could have hit
a perfect time to do it. Yeah. Well, because
a little Kendrick Bourne end around gadget play, something fun, something different than just tip your hand and bring in an extra tackle as a tight end with one receiver and just, we're going to smash mouth it. And it's worked for Bill before. It worked in the Buffalo game. There's been games in the past where the Patriots have said, look at all these guys here. I'm going to hand the ball off 50 times and you can't stop it. And I think that's what they were going for here, and it came up short.
Well, building off that, too, it's like they did establish the run all day, and they did run play action really well a few times. So why not do it again at the end? It's like they didn't take that last trick out of the book at the end to try and, seal the deal, and it just didn't happen. And
that
even
that was the kill shot opportunity
yeah,
there. If you don't
right.
do it there, you give the ball back. Yeah, sure. I guess you could hold them at bay, but you really were playing not to lose there, and I felt like that's where you should have
Right.
opened it up.
Yeah, I mean, that was just tough. And it's like what you had just said about the Buffalo game too. They did this again in the Buffalo game. They did this against Kansas City in 2020. They played them well in that game in Kansas City up until the end. Every time their backs are completely against the wall and you don't think they're going to go win a game, they completely throw out the playbook and they do something like they did today and they end up staying real competitive. It just so happens that they like kind of just don't I don't know, they don't pull the trigger at the end, and it's too bad because they played really well. Ultimately, I had basically no complaints today besides just a little bit more urgency to try and actually put one in the W column. That's it.
I loved, and on the defensive side, I mean, look, everyone's going to point to like, oh, Miles Bryant. Like, yeah, sure. He gave up a couple of catches.
No, I
And
know.
the reality is, and then obviously, Jones got beat deep on that Dobbs catch that could have been a catch,
Right.
ended up not. That would have been a big one.
I thought he could have made a little bit better of a play on the Dobbs touchdown too.
Yeah, and
it was a great throw from Rodgers. I'm gonna give him the credit
but
there.
Most of it, he'd beat him clean. It wasn't
right.
Most of it was Rodgers being Rodgers, and that's going to happen.
Right.
On the whole, though, the defense was great. Took Aaron Rodgers out of his game. Of the three quarterbacks that played in the first half, Aaron Rodgers was the worst, both statistically and the eye test. I mean, he was a mess, and he threw that pick six, and that was really all the scoring for the Patriots there. So there's nothing to complain about the defense. Matthew Judon was a beast, had a terrific game. We mentioned Tavai had a great game. They just played well, and they were down a corner too with Jalen Mills.
Jones.
And
Jack Jones was outstanding today. I thought he was really good.
Jack Jones was incredible.
I was going to say there was a few that, could have made plays. I guess he got beat a few times, but that's what you're going to get when you kind of have to throw a rookie right into the fire like that. But he was really good. He had like 5 or 6 tackles, I think. He had a pass breakup. He had the pick 6 in the first half. I'm reading now. I'm perusing Twitter. He's up at the podium right now. He says, personally, I feel like it's disrespectful to throw an out route on me. Said he's no good if a QB can complete that kind of pass against him, and he obviously had the pick 6 today. So, I mean, he impressed me today. He looks like someone that they can rely on at corner for, hopefully a long time around here. He was hit or miss, but ultimately he had a good day.
He was good. Other revelations, of course, Marcus Jones. We'll talk about that as well as a return guy. That was game changing.
Oh yeah, yes,
and that's 100%. What put him in a position there to win that game at the end. So, I mean, a lot of positives, and that's why I say it jokingly because I hate moral victories. You go 1-3.
Yeah, it's awful. Like.
You go 1-3, you have a very difficult time,
right?
Mathematically speaking, or historically speaking, of making the playoffs. So nobody likes them. But again, it's as a Patriots fan these days, also given the circumstances with your starting quarterback out, you have to approach each week with reduced expectations. So I'm not a oh, it's a moral victory game. You expected to lose this game, so you're happy with some good performances. It was just there for the taking, and that's why you're going to get frustrated with how it went down at the end.
Yeah. It's a game where you look at the AFC, and they're like, originally at the start of the season, it looked like the AFC was going to be the dominant conference here, and everyone's kind of beating up on each other, the Colts and the Titans, and like there's just a ton of teams that are very meh from like 7 through 12. It's a place where if you win these games against non-conference opponents, against a team like the Packers, you could have ended up kind of finding yourself in a playoff spot towards the end of the season. Now, I know it's only week 4. The Patriots started 1-3 last year. They rattled 7 off. So it's not over, but these are the games where you're going to look back and be like, oh, okay, they could have stole one up in Green Bay in week 4.
And you're perilously close right now. And again, there's winnable games on this schedule, regardless of who your quarterback is. But you're perilously close to dropping a couple games, and then everybody's starting to want to tank the season and develop an X, Y, and Z.
Especially with the quarterback out too.
Yeah, so you don't know. And again, let's just assume Mac Jones' absence is beyond a week, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, and Brian Hoyer can play next week. What do you do?
It's a good question, and what you said earlier about the whole, let's just throw Zappe into the fire, even with Hoyer healthy. I was like on that.
Mike, you carry the load for 30 seconds. A light bulb just went out. All right, I'm still here.
Figure it out.
You answer that question. Give me 10 seconds.
All right, let's get it. So anyway, as I was just saying, John mentioned earlier, throw Zappe into the fire and just kind of let's see what he can do. I wanted to see that strictly off of like as as a fan of the team, and let's go see it. Let's go see it, right? I mean, what do you have to lose? Your star quarterback's out. Brian Hoyer's Brian Hoyer. He was 0-11 in his last 11 starts. Why do we want to see that again? Realistically speaking, the Patriots want to win these games, and so Brian Hoyer was their best shot to win. He goes down. Zappe comes in, goes 9 to 15 or 10 to 15 for 99 yards, whatever it was. He actually played pretty well.
Yeah.
I think that they should go with Zappe just because I think he showed a little bit here, and Hoyer has just been so like meh. I want to see it too. What I want them to do is go with Zappe. What I think they'll do is go with Hoyer because,
Of course.
yeah, that's where
Yeah.
I'm at.
Yeah. Hoyer's old. Hoyer hasn't won
He's
a
old
game.
and he's boring.
Hoyer hasn't won a game in a long time too. So
Right.
And he's boring. And you know what you get. And the reality is, not only do you know what you get, you're probably getting even less than that.
Right.
And remember his last start with the Patriots, he was so bad he got benched.
Right.
In
Jared Stidham, who they wouldn't let see the field for nothing.
Who they didn't want anywhere near the field.
Right.
And that's how bad he was last time you tried the Brian Hoyer thing. So I think I get it. I think some people, the smart, sensible Patriots fan will say, just go with Hoyer. He'll manage it. He'll keep it together. If the moment's too big for the rookie, you don't even know what he's got right now. And that's that. But the reality is you might be thinking of the Brian Hoyer who existed 5 years ago, and that guy might be so long gone that he's really just a clipboard holder and an extra body and an absolute break glass in case of emergency guy. So I don't even know that you're getting safe with Hoyer anymore. On the other side with Zappe, reality is he's a 4th-round pick that most people had projected as a 5th or 6th rounder. Historically, those guys don't get second contracts in the NFL. Only about 25% of them do. So Bailey Zappe will be lucky to have a career as good as Brian Hoyer. So what is his ceiling? I don't know. So from a fan perspective, you just want to see Zappe the same way people wanted to see Stidham. Not because they thought Stidham was going to be better than Cam Newton. They were just bored with Newton. They knew what he could do. And it's the same thing with Hoyer. Like, I've seen the Brian Hoyer show. I don't want to watch it anymore. Okay. That's the philosophy behind Zappe.
Right. Another thing to think about too is
But I don't even know if it's safe anymore. That's the thing. Is it might not be.
They prepped all week to play Hoyer. So they prepped around a guy who is conservative, doesn't have a skill set, is 37 years old. Let's ground and pound. Let's do it. And then they had to throw Bailey Zappe into the mix, who, he's young. He's inexperienced. We get all that. But he was a gunslinger quarterback in college. So they obviously couldn't really bring those types of plays out today because they just didn't prep for it. So if Matt can't go, Hoyer looks like a head injury. There's been a lot around head injuries this week in the NFL anyway with the whole Tua thing. So if Hoyer can't go and they do throw Zappe into the mix, they're going to change up the playbook yet again, and they're going to make him more comfortable. So I'd be curious to see how that looks as well.
Yeah, and again, this one's a bummer because coulda, woulda, shoulda. They maybe could have come away with this one. This would have been a great steal, especially if you can get Matt back fairly quickly. Because let's put things in the plus column here. Matt Patricia called an excellent game, particularly in the second half. The offensive line was terrific on those runs.
Besides Isaiah Wynn,
who got benched for Marcus Cannon, but Cannon, hell of a run blocker. Was doing a great job there. You had the left side with Cole Strange and Trent Brown, really, really, really doing a good job. There's one time Trent Brown motioned to the sideline. He's like, keep running it to my side.
Let's go. And you want to see that with him because he's a guy who buys out really fast. So when he's in, he's on.
And they knew they had an advantage in the trenches, which is a big deal because, that's been the issue is the offensive line. You have receivers that aren't getting open. And when Zappe took a sack, nobody was open. He wanted to get out of the pocket. He took that terrible sack. I think he wanted to run, and he knew there was nobody open downfield, but the pocket just collapsed on him.
Right. He's not getting away from
nobody's getting open. So the offensive line's got to be able to punch some holes there, and that's what's going to set up play action for you, and that's what's going to get people running free or with single coverage downfield.
Right.
That's the only way this works. So this was step one. towards getting that offense to get moving in the right direction. They were able to outmuscle the Packers in the trenches, at least with their offensive line.
Right. I want to go, if you will allow me to, pull this up from the chat, talking about what we said about Matt Patricia.
Well, I'm
asking
with you
about
there.
overtime, because I'll leave that up for a second too, because I agree. Patricia called
I said second half.
a really good game. Yes, his second half was good. Towards the end, it got a little bit too conservative, and so did overtime. So this person who says, really, what about overtime? John, we kind of said that already.
We said it.
He did what he had to do with Zappe thrown in, and he really impressed me today from a whole.
And that's why when I say what I say, like, I thought they played not to lose. They did a little bit.
Right.
And certainly they're in overtime, but some of it is justified because it's just a matter of, likelihood at that point. When you're pinned on your 1 yard line, are you expecting Zappe to lead you on the drive 99 yards? No. Your goal there is to get out with enough room to kick. Okay. If you get a first down, see what happens after that. But just give yourself some space so you don't get pinned on your friggin' end line and either get it blocked or kick it back and have them start the next drive on your 45-yard line. That's what you had to avoid there. That's the goal. You have different goals all the time. Your goal in overtime when you got on the 50 is win the game. Go win the game right there. Right. That was winning time. That's where I thought they got conservative. It makes sense. They wanted to see if they could bloody him up. What if you get 7 yards on first down? You've got some flexibility there. Right. They didn't. And they got caught, in a 3rd and 5 there and couldn't get it going, couldn't get a completion, and that was that. So
I still kind of wish they did throw it once.
Through the second half, they engineered a couple of drives there, which I just didn't see them doing. And and it involved Zappe throwing the ball a little bit as well. Right. So they got things going, and as you said, they set up play action by really getting the run game going.
Yeah.
So
I do wish they kind of threw it once when they were backed up at the end. And I get it. And I get what you were saying too. Run it and just go. But it's like, you're kind of also, and I wrote about this and I said it on Pat Beat on Thursday. Yep. Like, you kind of are playing with house money in that sense. It's like, you're not expected to win this game anyway. You are backed up. You only need 3. You have a minute. Try something once. But it's also tough to trust Bailey Zappe to not make a mistake. So I get it, but I just wanted to see a little more.
If you don't trust him at all, run it on 3rd down instead of pass there on 3rd and 5, and then see maybe you find yourself in a 4th and 1 situation if you don't pick up the first down and see what happens from there. Personally, I think if you're going to throw, you throw earlier. You throw on first down when they're expecting run and see if you can catch them off guard, get a chunk play, get your 10, 15 yards there. Then you can run it and at least settle for your 40-something yarder and you're okay. That's all you needed. All you needed. One chunk play there, one play, 10 yards, 12 yards at a time, and you've really got them on their heels. So it is what it is on that front. But stacking the positives, you have the offensive line. That's good. Mm-hmm. That bodes well going forward one way or the other.
Yep.
You discovered a kick returner. Having that as a weapon when you have a limited offense is a really, really, really important thing.
Huge.
So that was incredible. He was electric.
Yeah, he was really good.
So that was great. And overall, like I said, a solid defensive game plan. The Packers are kind of easy to defend because you can cover their receivers playing man pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. They've been nothing without Davante Adams. Their offense has really been nothing. It's all Rodgers. I mean, Lazard made a couple nice plays today. Dobbs obviously had a couple on Jones, but they're just so much less dynamic when they don't have Davante Adams on the field anymore. And it's really the Rodgers show, and you can beat it. Obviously, we saw that today, but
you can. It would have been nice. It would have been nice to stick it to Green Bay in their face there. On the road, and obviously a nice win on the whole. Other observations from today, Mike?
I liked that they got the blitz going on Rodgers a little bit early because they knew that they could attack it because, again, their offense is so much more minimal without Adams. I think they could have done that a little bit more to kind of try and put a little bit more added pressure on them. But again, at that point towards the end, you're playing to just not let up a touchdown. You're not really trying to be as aggressive. But the defense was impressive. I said it earlier, Tavai, he got beat a couple times. I tweeted that he had rocks in his cleats, which he did early, but then it's all of a sudden he just got this burst of speed at the end of the game. He was tracking down Aaron Jones. He was making plays in the middle. Tavai was really good. Defense as a whole was really good. Offense, I guess, takeaway / a question for you, and I'm curious to see what you think. Do you think Mac plays next week?
No,
No.
So that's the thing. Between just if you read the tea leaves on everything that's gone on, to me, almost every single person, both who reported early and then every one of the Twitter doctors who everyone's like, oh, they don't know. And these guys this is what they do for a living. They can watch something, look at the mechanism, see how the injury is, and tell with a certain degree of certainty that's a high ankle sprain the way that it went. So the fact that everybody's saying severe high ankle, which is 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 with or without surgery, and we're pretending that Mac's coming back in a week. Look, I know quarterbacks who are not super mobile
that's what I think.
Can tape it up and sit back there and be a little bit more successful. It's one of the positions where you can do it. I'd still be stunned if it's next week. If I'm going to say my wager on the early side would be at the 3-week mark. So
do you think it's do you think it's just gamesmanship then? What they did last week?
This week was 100% gamesmanship. There was a 0 point. There was a better chance.
I agree he wasn't good. Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
Better chance I was playing quarterback than Mac. Honestly, there was no chance.
I agree.
Absolute nonsense.
This week he was not gonna play. Yeah. However, I don't think you do that type of trot him out there. He may play. He feels better if it's not gonna be this week or even the next week. I think it just at that point it's gonna make the quarterback look bad if he doesn't go again when he was that close this week. I feel like they're more on the same page than people think. I don't think there's this divide.
I don't buy the divide fully either. And I also think, and again, if you have people explain that whole whatever they call it, what's that surgery called?
Tightrope surgery. I asked Mac about it the other day. He gave me nothing. You listen to medical professionals talk about it. That's not an end all be all cure all sort of thing. No,
if the thing is sprained, if the thing is bad enough, it might help you when you're ready to recover a little faster. But until you're ready, and that thing's got to heal on its own, it doesn't heal it for you. It might make the recovery faster when you're back. So if the thing is severely sprained, he's not coming back. So I honestly thought I wouldn't have been stunned if they put him on IR prior to this week. After ruling him out
after the week of what they did,
rather than play. But I think they're trying to get him in within that 4-week window. I personally think he misses 2 games and then moves on. What that they did today was sustainable in your eyes, Mike. And again, you're assuming you're going in again with a Hoyer Zappe quarterback next week. Right. I do wonder whether what's interesting is everybody was clamoring for open it up, let Mac cook. Mm-hmm. Which he did to mixed results the week before and the week that he got injured. They did start to work on their downfield offense. They got more chunk plays. They were being more aggressive. It resulted in 3 Mac Jones interceptions. They got away from the run game a little bit, and now they got back to it based out of necessity. Does this make more sense that this would be the bones of this team, regardless of who's at quarterback? Is this almost like you've actually stumbled back into the identity you think you should have anyway?
I think so. I think that when you, like I said earlier, when you play this type of offense in Buffalo last year, and you play this type of offense in Kansas City 2 years ago, or 2 years ago, whenever it was, it's clear that this is the bones of your offense. The run game was there. Harris and Stevenson ran hard. The offensive line is there. They're playing hard. Play action when you establish it. And when you could run play action with Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar, 2 burners like that, that's going to be successful 75% of the time if you are able to run the ball like you did today. Mac Jones is going to make better decisions than Bailey Zappe and Brian Hoyer did. I think that's the way you run your offense. Let Mac cook. Yeah, whatever. He was really good this offseason, throwing the ball and whatnot. But like you said last week, they let him cook a little bit, and he threw a bunch of interceptions. He can make those types of plays when they're opened up for him, but to have that be the center of your offense is not going to be it for him or this team. So I agree. Ultimately, like what you just said.
Yeah.
This ground and pound play action, establish the run offense is how Mac Jones is going to succeed the best because he's so cerebral and can make the reads that Zappe didn't ultimately make all the time today.
Yeah, and it's also interesting if Hoyer's not ready to come back out next week, you got to go sign somebody and bring him in here. I know Jacoby Myers is the emergency quarterback. He didn't play today.
They're gonna. Who can they bring? They won't bring in Cam. A name that I kept hearing float around was Garrett Gilbert. I think he's on the Cowboys practice squad now. He was here in the past. I don't know what Jake Dolgala is up to anymore. It's not going to be anyone who's going to make any substantial difference or even get on the field, unless of course Bailey Zappe gets hurt, which I guess you never know. But yeah, they're gonna have to bring another guy in.
They're gonna have to bring another guy in.
It's not going to be Cam Newton.
Yeah, no, it's not. I still don't know how I feel about all of this. Part of me wants to. I mean, Mac or no Mac. I think that this is not a season where. I mean, I think the playoffs are possible, but I don't think they're likely, even with Mac. I think the worst place you can be in the NFL is somewhere in the middle. I think it's interesting if Zappe comes in and plays really well. What would happen there? I think it's a story, but I don't know how much of that. But that's all it is. I don't know how much of it is going to happen here. And you can come crashing back to earth pretty quick next week. I am interested to see again. You have to think that they have to go into a full week of preparation with Zappe as your quarterback because Hoyer suffered a head injury. He's in the protocols. He can't practice. Even if he does get a quarterback, if he's your franchise quarterback, a quarterback getting cleared, ready to play is your quarterback. He steps right in, and that's what he does. He's a quarterback getting out of bed, and jumping out of the shower every morning. But when it's somebody that you want to prepare and get ready for it, or he's a backup, does it even make sense to entertain it if Hoyer clears the protocol Saturday without a single rep of practice during the week of play? I don't think so. So I think you're looking at a Bailey Zappe game.
Well, like I said too, because it's not gonna be the same offense, right? You're not prepping the same offense that you did for Hoyer. You're gonna curate it to Zappe's strengths this week. So no, like you said, it doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah, and I am curious if they do that, or I am curious if it's going to be a throw the ball 9 times and run it. So
well, that's the thing that kind of
you got the Lions at home. The Lions just gave up 70,000 points to friggin' Seattle.
They also score the points though too. Like
I know. But this is not a defense that you're worried about.
No, I know.
You hopefully try to open things up a little bit in one way or another here against this team. I mean, they just got tuned up by Geno.
The Pats showed today though that they're gritty and they're competitive. Like they're not gonna just roll over even when their franchise quarterback isn't there. The Packers, as much as I keep saying that their offense isn't that great, the Packers are a really good football team, and the Patriots just went to overtime with them. So like, it almost kind of bugs me as to why they can't just play this type of football every week. It sounds so easy, and I know it's not, but like, they have enough guys on this team to be relatively competitive. I guess they're in purgatory, which you say you don't like, but I mean, there's no reason they shouldn't there's no reason they shouldn't be able to beat the Lions next week.
No,
the way
definitely
today.
Definitely not. I'm looking through some notes here just to see some of the other stuff that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
as well. Oh my goodness, the delay of game. Oh, holy crap. That was one thing they got away with. Not a long-lasting thing, but that's as bad a call as you're going to see.
Yeah.
The one thing we touched upon briefly, which is a little bit concerning as well, is Isaiah Wynn, man.
Terrible.
I don't know. I don't know that he can play anymore. Multiple penalties, holding calls, just getting beat by speed rushers, and just yanked here for a guy, obviously Cannon has a history with the Patriots, but someone you signed to the practice squad that's all but done, was barely hanging on.
Yeah, he's old.
Career.
He's hanging on to the Texans. Yeah,
and clearly an upgrade over Wynn, which is sad.
It's sad. It's like you say, it's sad. It's kind of too bad. He's just like, it's not like he's a guy who was a bust. He played good football here for a couple strong years.
Passable, and then injuries. We kind of
sure, but he has it. So it almost looks like it's like a mail it in type thing, which it kind of bugs me too because he's good and he just, I've been in the locker room a few times over the last couple weeks, and he kind of just walks around like, oh, I don't really care. And there's other guys on this team who really do care, and it's just kind of too bad to see. I don't think it's fully an effort thing. I think he's lost his step. Like you said, he's been injured, but man, he struggled today, and it was worth being benched for a guy like Marcus Cannon.
Yeah, so he struggled, but the arrow points strongly up for rookies. Obviously, Zappe thrown into the fire here, acquitted himself fairly well, and then the Marcus and Jack Jones, where that if you're looking for positives, again, it's the rookies, but primarily
2 years in a row. 2 years in a row, positive rookie play so far. Because Cole Strange has been a beast too on the offensive line.
And Strange was really good getting out in front and pulling on a lot of those inside zone, a lot of those inside runs there. They were very successful. That's good. That's all you can ask for there. And also, it's after they're 1-3. Tyquan Thornton technically is eligible to come off the IR. You could get another boost there too. So you want positives for a season that may be trending towards lost season. Seeing the kids perform well is what you need. Why are the Patriots in the situation they're in now? Bad drafts, or at least not drafting enough impact players over the last few years, in addition to maybe some poorly spent free agent money. You're currently wasting you're wasting having a team that has a rookie that has a quarterback on a rookie scale contract. That's the biggest gift you can be given in the NFL. Your roster should be loaded with talent. So you want to see the young kids doing something. I'm pretty psyched about that. It's just nice to see people do dynamic things, be playmakers,
right?
And they're with speed and athleticism. And again, you saw it from Marcus. Jack Jones, terrific pick there, and the pick six on the outside played an all around terrific game. And I mean, we were.
It's good to see It's good to see homegrown guys doing it, right? Like for 2 years in a row. Like I know I just kind of said this, but to list them off, right? You have Mack, you have Stevenson, Barmore's a beast inside. Thornton could come back, who had a really good camp. I think you were just about to say that. Both Jones, Cole Strange, like it's really good. There's really good young play around here. Around your young quarterback, I guess, like you said, you want to see more of it, but I mean, it's good from a draft.
It's good, and we were at camp a ton. I wanted to see more of Thornton than basically anybody else. I couldn't take my eyes off him. I was interested. I would watch him on every second, just see what he would do. Smooth, fast, hard to stay with. Caught everything thrown his way.
Soft hands.
Really soft hands. I really want to see what happens there. Hopefully he can return on the
Who's the on man out in the wide receiver?
I don't know, man. And again,
because they're using Humphrey so much.
You're using
I don't see them
tight end, and you're not, because Jonnu went out. Jonnu went out today with an injury to his ankle. And when you get ruled out immediately, the Patriots don't rule players out. When you get ruled out quick, that's usually not great. He did get ruled out fairly quick. So I wouldn't be shocked if he misses a little bit of time, and that's where you're going to use there. I really don't know who an odd man out is. What I will say is this is back-to-back weeks. Nelson Aguilar is really kind of, he made a play or two today, but had very critical mistakes. Obviously the fumble late in the game, running after the catch last week. And then this week on that comeback route, the ball was a little low, but that's what you're paid to make those plays. It's a dig route. You're coming back to the ball. The ball's thrown low where you can get it. Make the friggin' catch. If you make that, the complexion of the early parts of those games and whether the Patriots were moving the ball might have been a little different. That was a critical drop. He's just got to make those plays. I don't think he's going to be necessarily the odd man out, certainly because he and Max started getting their chemistry. Right. Nice to see Parker get that play. That was a nice design. Sprung him open there. But I don't know. I don't know who it will be, but I'm excited to see if Thornton gets out there and starts to do something. I want to see if he practices this week.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Mike, I'll leave it to you if you have any closing thoughts. Otherwise, we can go wrap up our post game and watch some football here.
I'm taking a look at some, box score stuff just to look. Like you said, Aguilar was their leading receiver with 46 yards. I mean,
there's not much.
He's a guy. He's a guy you pay a lot more money to not be doing. You pay him too much money, you want to see more out of him.
Yep.
Defense was solid. Offense was fine. It's a performance that you can definitely build off of because it shows that you can compete, but it's also a really tough loss. So it's a catch-22, I guess. But ultimately, I think they can go out and win this Lions game. I think you showed that you're a gritty football team. And
here's the other thing. You mentioned the Lions. The Lions and the Browns looked a lot easier before you started watching the Patriots play and before you started watching those two teams play. Those are obviously winnable games and games you feel you should win. they are also losable games. But
Right.
the slate right now is really interesting. You're talking about and this is why this win would have been nice. You want to talk about momentum? Again, every game is losable because the Patriots have a lot of holes. But Lions, Browns, Bears, Jets, Colts look like shit. And then Jets again. I mean, you've got a stretch here coming off this Green Bay game. You knew it was tough here getting through the first four. But
it's similar to the stretch last year.
Man, this stretch, all of these are winnable games, even up to the Vikings. And then you've got the Bills. But again, this is not a murderer's row of teams.
No.
Games against the Raiders, games against the Bengals. If you get a little bit right, you get into some rhythm, get some continuity on offense, get everybody healthy and go, you could easily turn this around. There's no games on this schedule where you're like, the rest of the way, the only team you're really like, those are L's, are 2 against the Bills. For
Buffalo,
the rest of the way, there's no team on this. The Cardinals look friggin' terrible. The Raiders just got their first win. The Bengals are all out of sorts.
Yeah.
This schedule is not one.
And that's why that's why I think they're going to want to get Mac Jones back as fast as possible, because again, in an AFC that's not as good as everyone thought it was going to be,
we're not expecting wins. We are expecting that they could be competitive in all of these games.
Yeah,
they can lose. They can lose any of these. They can absolutely be competitive in every one of these games.
They should be competitive in every single one. We'll see what happens in the W and L column, but they have to play all of those games close. Those aren't teams that can beat this team by a lot of points, 10 plus. They can be competitive here. So, quote from Bill Belichick at the podium: "In the end, Rodgers is just too good."
Wah, wah.
I guess, but that's still so lame. Like, that was there, it was right there, and they just didn't. They didn't try. I don't want to say they didn't try. That's harsh, and
this is what
they obviously tried. But
this is what Bill does when Bill knows, like, I done screwed this up good. Not just from a game perspective, but like from the people he's putting out there on the field.
Yeah,
he's more apologetic and complimentary of them,
the other team,
and complimentary of the other team. He says, he'll commend the effort of his guys. We played hard. We did this. We did that. When he thinks he's got a wagon, and they could win by 3 touchdowns and be like, we left a lot of plays out there. So this is a kind of recognition from Bill that this might not be my best. This might not be the best job I've ever done. But anyway,
and to ask to one more quote from Bill: "Asked to assess Bailey Zappe's performance. Yeah, good.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the tape.
That's it. Yeah. So that's it. But yeah, no final thoughts. I guess wrapping it up. Go watch some. What do we got? Buccaneers Chiefs coming up tonight. So good Sunday night game. The Patriots showed that they can compete. I said it a million times. They showed that they're gritty. A lot of good showings from young players. The defense was solid. The offensive line was solid. The running backs were solid. The bones of this team are solid. Get your quarterback back. You can compete. I guess let's see what happens going forward with the quarterback position. That's the main worry. But a tough showing, but a fun one today, I guess. It
was fun. It was a fun game.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was good to hear Tony Romo and Jim Nantz on a Patriots call again.
It might be the only
one. It
felt
important. It felt important. Yeah.
Might be the only one. The 425 slot on CBS, Romo and Nantz and Lambeau Field, Patriots and the Packers, looked better on paper. It was
really fun. Felt like an important game.
It ended up being a good game, and it did feel like an important game. We're going to wrap it. We have more stuff. You can always check our YouTube channel. There'll be a ton of Patriots podcasts coming up. Andrew Callahan will be doing his post-game podcast tomorrow. Greg Bedard with the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast. Nick Cattles, of course, Mike and Alex Barth will be back with Patriots Beat a couple times during the week. So make sure you check those out and just keep it here, clnsmedia.com, and check it out. Mike has a write-up here on the game and all of your Patriots coverage needs. Make sure you keep it with us. Also, Celtics season has begun for anybody who's interested. We're running. Garden Report is back, so make sure you check that out.
Celtics coverage out there.
It was fun to have the gang back together. We did a show today. So we will see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk